Today we are going to be doing manual muscle testing of the thoracolumbar region. We are going to start with trunk extension, which is done by the paraspinal muscles. For this progression, there is 4 different grading scales. Starting at grade 2, the patient will be keeping their arms flat right next to them on the table. For this motion, we are going to be watching for the sternum and the xiphoid process to be able to clear the table and come off. We are going to have the patient simply lift their chest up off the table as I stabilize their legs and lower pelvic area. My forearm is going to be going across the upper thighs and stabilizing as much as possible. Alrighty. Whenever you are ready, lift your chest up off the table. And back down. Now, our patient has progressed through grade 2. So the next, grade 3, will be our patient holding their arms slightly behind them off of the table. There we go. Same thing for the stabilization. And up. And back down. Next, we are going to have the patient hold their hands behind their back. Ready, up and down. Our patient is progressing through this very quickly, so now we are going to have the patient put their hands behind their head. Whenever you're ready, there we go, and back down. Nick would have scored a grade 5 on the trunk extension manual muscle testing. Next, we are going to be moving to the Kendall test, which is going to measure lateral side flexion of the thoracolumbar spine. We are going to have the patient move to their sideline position on the right-hand side. For this manual muscle test, we want the patient to be in neutral as spine as possible, so a pillow in between the legs and the knees in order to provide proper alignment of the spine is needed. So this is another test that we are going to begin at grade 3. This muscle test is going to be testing your quadratus lumborum as well as your external and internal obliques. So for the first one, we are going to be, for this manual muscle testing, we are going to be measuring how far the shoulder gets off of the table. I'm going to be stabilizing right on the thigh again and going to have the patient simply bring themselves up off of the table. Whenever you're ready.
My legs are sore. Can you go down a little?
Whenever you're ready. Cool. Try that one more time. There we go. All right, and back down. Now we're going to do it one more time. Up. And back down. Our patient has successfully cleared his shoulder from the table, meaning he would be a grade 5. So, for the next manual muscle testing, we are going to go into trunk flexion. So we're going to have the patient perform in supine. Alrighty, so for trunk flexion, in this motion, we are going to be having the patient in a hook lying position for the time being in order to reduce stress on the lower back area. For the beginning of this manual muscle test, we are going to have the patients put their hands right at their sides. No stabilization is required for this muscle test. First, we are going to instruct the patient to simply contract the rectus abdominis muscles, so his abs right here, and he is going to clear his scapula off of the table as we progress forward through this progression of manual muscle testing for the rectus abdominis. So you're going to set your stomach. There we go. And we are going to bring your shoulders up off the table. There we go. Shoulder blades have cleared the table. Now we're going to have him relax, back down. Next, we're going to have his hands, similar to trunk extension. They're going to be up off the table in an elevated position. Next, we're going to have him perform the same motion, clearing his scapulae from the table and back down. Next, we are going to have the patient put his arms across his chest like so, and do the same motion. Clearing his table. Yep, there we go. Let's do that one more time. Nope, back down. Only your scapulae off of the table. Boop. Cool. Now, the last progression of this manual muscle testing will be putting his hands at his ear level behind his head.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, there we go. All right. Our patient has progressed through all of the stages of this test, and now we are going to continue on to the next one and grade him a grade 5. The next test that we are going to be doing is double leg lowering for trunk flexion, but most specifically, this is going to be focusing on the lower abdominals, such as the transverse abdominis. So, in order for this manual muscle test to be performed efficiently, the patient needs to set their transverse abdominis and rectus abdominis muscles. This is important as physical therapists that we palpate that region to ensure that muscle contraction is being performed throughout the test, or else it will not be reliable. So what I'm going to have the patient do is hold their right hand side, and I am going to hold their left hand side so they know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So now, yep, we're going to set your abdominals. For this test, we are going to have the patient perform 90-degree hip flexion. 90-degree hip flexion with both of the legs, just like so. He is going to set his transverse abdominis, and then we are going to slowly lower the feet towards the surface of the table. As soon as he loses that muscle contraction in the transverse abdominis, that is where he has finished the test. And right there is where we see him lose the contraction. He has done very well, and that was about at 75 to 90 degrees. So we would grade him a grade, oh, I'm so sorry. He lost the contraction around 30 to 15 degrees, so we would grade him a grade 4. For the next manual muscle testing, it's going to be the Saharman progression. This one has a couple different ones, just like the rectus abdominis did. So the first one that we're going to do is we are going to have the patient in hook lying position with both feet flat on the table. We're going to do the same thing and set the transverse abdominis. Again, I'm going to have the patient hold their right side while I hold my left side, his left side. For this first one, all the patient is going to do is lift the leg into 90 degrees of hip flexion, as well as keeping the leg in 90 degrees of knee flexion as well. Whenever you're ready, you may begin. Nope, we're going to do one at a time. One at a time here. So we're going to go up with the right. Yep. Right, up with the right and down. Nope. We're just going to do one at a time. We're going to do one up and down. And then we're going to bring the other leg up, and then we're going to bring the other leg down. All right, ready? One leg up, one leg down. One leg up, one leg down. We're going to do this 10 times. All right. We have done abs today, so I am going to continue on with the motions of this manual muscle testing to give our patient a break. So for level 1, that is simply going to be level 1. For level 2, it is going to be bringing one leg up and bringing the other leg up. then bringing the initial leg back down, then bringing this leg back down as well, all while maintaining that transverse lower abdominal contraction. Level 3 is going to be where the patient keeps both of the legs into 90 degrees of hip flexion and hip flexion and knee flexion. Now we are going to have the patient put one leg down and one leg back up, one leg down and one leg back up, and that will be the third part of this test. The final part of this test will be, the next part of this test will be the patient puts one foot down, slides it out, slides it back in, and comes back to the 90. Again, we're going to do all these 10 times total. And the final one of this manual muscle progression is going to be the patient will begin in 90 degrees hip flexion, 90 degrees knee flexion, and then he is going to lower both of the legs down at the same time, slide them on the table, slide them back up, and then go back into hip flexion. All of these muscles, all these manual muscle testing levels, the patient needs to perform the contraction of the lower abdominal muscles. Thank you. Fuck my life.
And that's it?